technology and instruction. So, you know, they cut out,
Did you skip one?
uh,
The first one is IJND.
We so that's in the packet, but we did pass
We
that
did that
on
one, okay.
May
Yeah,
2nd
that one
at
was
school committee.
passed.
That already had 3 readings. It's just in the,
Oh, because that's, okay, all
it's
right.
just in the packet. Yeah, thank you.
so, all right, so, you know, so, I mean, pages of material were cut out of this policy, and then the new addition there states the purpose and,
So, and Bill, to give you a little bit of background on this, so this all sort of came about in the wake of COVID. So we weren't one-to-one, we were aspiring to be one-to-one, and then once the lockdowns came and we realized that we were going to have to do remote learning, we decided to do as comprehensive as a policy as possible. And I know Julie Keefe was here at the time, and she and several other people worked pretty tirelessly on this. You know, I don't have a dog in the fight on it, except to say that there's an awful lot of work put in. I look at the stuff that's in here, and then I look at what they have, and I'm kind of like, well, you know, is there a problem with throwing out the baby with the bathwater? Can we just leave what we have and just leave this as sort of, you know, as sort of the general statement around it? So I just didn't want to throw away months of other people's work without at least giving it due diligence.
although as is the case with technology, a lot of the time things become out of date quickly.
No doubt.
It doesn't
No doubt.
mean that they weren't great and that they didn't reflect a lot of work, but, you know.
No, I think,
to
yeah,
look
I
at
think
today and look at the future.
Yeah, I think through this, I don't think there's anything that's really out of date on it, as much as technology evolves, so there will be additional things. Now, in terms of a policy, I do agree that, you know, the simplicity gives you an advantage, and that as the technology evolves, it certainly gives you more latitude in terms of interpreting, but at the same time, you know, that latitude can be a double-edged sword.
So, we would both love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, there was quite a bit taken out, and the new one is fairly simplistic. So what thoughts beside that?
And, well, I guess directly applicable to the technology we have available, what the students are doing. Georgina, feel free to pipe in on this as well. You know, I mean, you know, the two swords of the fight are, right, you know, like, we could say, you know, we got the new stuff, you know, and then keep what's there. The problem is, if you start to list a bunch of certain things specifically, and then you don't have everything listed specifically, then now, you've given permission by omission, potentially, right? So that's where I think the goal is with the more broader based policy is, it kind of puts hands, I mean, it's directing people more towards common sense in reality, right? And then in terms of this. So, I mean, I don't know, the question is what's going to be better for the school district to live with going forward. I'm concerned about, and I know Bill said it's not out of date, and sure, there's things in it not out of date, but, I mean, AI is a perfect example, right? Which is, we could even add a paragraph of AI there, but I'm not even quite sure we'd know what we could add.
I would be willing.
Or what we'd need to, and even if we knew what to write, it won't be right 6 months from now.
I'd be willing to bet that there will be an entire policy that's dedicated simply to AI. I don't think they're going to under this. Yeah, this will be sort of an afterthought. But as I've read through this several times, yes, there is, there are things that you could always add. But again, I don't see the harm honestly in just listing what the MASC has, and then just supplementing it with what we already have in our policy. You know, when you get to things like, I'll read for example, using computing and information technology resources only for their intended purpose. This is from the policy that's being eliminated. Violations include but not limited to send forged email, misuse software to allow users to hide their identity and interfere with other systems or users, use electronic resources for harassment, bullying, stalking, to send bomb threats or hoax messages, to intercept or monitor any network communication not intended for you. At least you're covering a pretty broad spectrum of things within this policy. So, you know, much like when you read the law, quote unquote, the law, sometimes the haziness, the fuzziness of it sort of stands in the interpretation. So this is something that we've had in the district since 2019, 2020, 2021.
So if we
Sometime
leave the
2020.
policy where it is, like, so the way it's written now, where we put purpose, the new writing from MASC, and then, but then don't delete everything that's there, which is I think what Bill's proposing. Is this then a policy that we will be able to practically follow and is appropriate and applicable for the schools, or are we gonna have a problem if we do this? I mean, I don't have strong feelings either way, but I don't want to have, last thing I want is a policy that's gonna make anyone's life more difficult, or, you know, for you to do your job, you to do your job, and John to do his job.
Georgina, what do you think?
One of the things that I like to do, I like their broad policies, but I like to have handbooks and practices that are more defined. And that way you can change those more often. You can name all those things within the handbook. And the policy, if it's broader, you can consistently, because this is an arduous process that you've gone through. You can always go back to the handbook and add those things because you recognize that something has changed within the student body or within the practices of technology or things like that. So policy defines practice. So that's where I like to put all the details in that lane.
Just to
Yeah.
jump on that, IJND, which is already passed, which we won't be talking about today, says that the superintendent and director of technology will develop and implement appropriate procedures and provide guidance to access digital resources. So
Yeah.
that could be another place where that stuff could all go to live.
And we used to have a technology committee that was really robust.
Do you like it?
And we would bring things to the committee and analyze them, like new products, new ways. And so you had a group of people. It was, I think, 2 representatives per school, was it? About then? Yeah. And we were on it, it was a couple of years, and it was awesome. So someone would have a new technology, and we would look and see, is this worth bringing in? And student privacy is a big concern, so we check for student privacy. Back then, we were like more working with CDs, things like that. But it was really good, and I would recommend, Bill and I talk about it all the time, bring it back. Bring back the committee and have us kind of work our way up to practice with the policy as the guideline.
Okay. All right, you were proposing, so moving the deleted material,
To the guidance document that Bill and I have to
So
produce
one-
under IJNDB.
One thing MASC.
oh, got it, okay.
One thing MASC did was they broke out the IJND into the IJNDC, so there's overlapping content that was in the IJND that they moved to the IJNDC. So if you look at the original, a lot of that content should have been in the acceptable use policy. If that explains it.
Okay.
The access to digital resources has a lot of the supporting procedural, guidelines that should be in the acceptable use, the new acceptable use policy, acceptable use of digital resources.
Well, and I like the idea of taking that and just, like I said, it's a lot of people's hard work.
Well, you
I
can definitely
think
reuse
that-
a lot.
I think it would be, and it's comprehensive. It does give an awful lot of guidance, so Georgina, if you think that that's,
Let it inform practice.
then.
All right, so the deleted material will become a draft for a
For-
handbook
Mhm.
Yeah.
that I guess we already directed you to write.
Now, what do we do with the? Well, so you have.
So then we would then accept the recommended changes to the policy itself
Yeah,
without you'll save the,
and it'll save you an awful lot of legwork in creating the
So a
policy.
lot less redoing.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I also
Good.
think it gets
I mean,
closer
I
to
think
the
that's a
people that are
good
using
solution.
the technology, the students, the parents can read it, teachers can read it, and I think it's better that way.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
You good with that?
Yes.
All right, since Shell's not here, I'll make a proposal to accept the recommended changes to IJNDB, use of technology in instruction.
With the old policy,
With
with
the,
the
with the
previous
deleted parts of the policy
being
to
used.
become a draft for, what are we calling this,
Guidance
handbook?
document.
Guidance handbook.
for
Yes.
IJND, right?
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, very good. All right, so we are going to now. All right, so I'm now looking, the next one I'm looking at on my file is JLCA. Or maybe we'll table that one for a second. I want to get through all the technology stuff first. Okay, now I'm looking at GBEE, personal use of technology. This is a policy that we have not previously had in the school district. It is a new policy to us. I read it, I personally didn't have any problems with it, but I'd love to hear comments.
Yeah, just let me see if I can. So here's the draft. Yeah, I mean, this looks good to me.
Okay.
I mean, maybe a tweak here or there, but not necessarily, it could work as it is.
I agree. I'm glad social media is mentioned in here because I think that's a big issue.
I know when we discussed this policy the last time, we were talking about one-to-one interactions and the language surrounding one-to-one interactions. And it's the last sentence, the second to the last paragraph, one-to-one interaction should be avoided. I know we had some discussion about that, but it's been a while since we did.
Okay.
So, but we were talking about do you remember that, John?
Yeah, so I think one of the examples we were talking about is coaches reaching out to the team to cancel practice due to weather or whatever. And what this policy would direct is that you reach out to the whole group, not just one coach to one player, but try to make your communications as transparent and open as possible.
I mean, I think that practice is good protection for both the coach and the players, for sure, right?
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
both could be at risk in a one-to-one interaction of being accused of something inappropriate.
Right.
I think your question came up though at one point that we email students directly and you said that's a kind of expected part of it,
Right, well,
of teaching, so.
let's see if there's something else. I think there is a part of this that talks about using district's online email.
Right,
Using the district account.
up at the top. They're required to use school issued accounts, which is what we
We provide.
preach that.
I mean, you could also write, was it your proposal, Bill, to delete the last sentence of that paragraph, and then, I mean, because it does already kind of go there in the first sentence, right? You know, group interactions are encouraged, and should include
Yeah,
two
no, I
staff
think that,
members, probably with, you know, the addition of when feasible, or, you know, when practical. You know, it's kind of already said in the first sentence, and then the second sentence
yeah,
is saying the same thing, but making it stronger, so, I don't know.
I had suggested adding if possible, simply because there are going to be those one-offs, so, you know, it buys you just, I think, a little bit more breathing room with the policy to allow that latitude, so that if you did have, you know, the opportunity where there was a one-to-one, it would be less, it would be sort of it would be more defensible.
So you're proposing one-to-one interaction should be avoided when possible? When possible, I'm fine with that.
Should there be something, if a coach is contacting a student, another coach is on the communications as well, that would avoid a one-to-one?
I don't, it would, but I think it would be good to not be too specific.
Okay.
I mean,
There's lots of ways to make it
You know,
not one to
right.
one.
like, I mean,
You
that's
could also-
best practice, right?
You could also include the student's parents.
Yeah.
You could include other students, could include the principal. I mean, just as long as it's not one staff member
One
or
staff
one
member, one
student.
student.
But we also have the capability of setting up and this comes under practice, of setting up coaches' accounts in Plus portals, so that they can log in and email parents and students, them to do other things. We've always had that. You can set up a Google Classroom for people. So there's ways of blanket, you know?
Well, and again, yeah, again, this is
Yeah.
this is a policy that feeds off of your district-generated email, or district-generated presence. It has-
Preferably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you can't, I mean, you know, we talk about the unforeseen. I mean, the unforeseen is that you have a coach, you know, or a player, or a teacher interacting with a student, but not on their district email. But this policy does not inform that. This policy informs the personnel use of technology that is within the district.
right. But it says that they must use it if they communicate.
They must.
Must use it. You're speaking with a student, you must use what you're given.
Wait, where does it say that?
At the top, all
Yeah.
staff must agree and sign to appropriate digital use, and then staff is required to use student issue accounts, not personal accounts, for all communications with students. I mean, that is extremely valuable to us.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah,
well, we're not proposing removing
no, I'm just
No.
saying that it's rock solid.
that. Oh, okay, okay. So,
So I make a motion to approve GBEE with the one change, should be avoided if possible.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, GBEE passes with the noted change. All right, I'm now looking at JICJ, use of technology in schools. This is another policy that would be a new policy for us.
This is for students, student use of technology.
Right.
That's in-
I had no issues with it.
Yeah, just flip.
JD. Should we include in the cross-reference now, INJDB? We have INJD, INJDC.
Wouldn't hurt.
More the merrier.
Yeah.
Look at all the cross references.
Mhm.
That's good.
I was was fine with this policy when we did it before.
Everybody cool?
Yeah,
Yeah, alright.
No, we're, do we want to reference the document that John and Bill were referring to that will be created as part of INJD?
I don't think so, because it's not a policy document, it's gonna be a guidance manual that's gonna be revised and kept up to date much more frequently than a policy could be, and it doesn't exist yet.
Will that policy be part of the student handbook, do you think?
so where it says consequences, you could add handbook. As outlined by the handbook.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. So annually, all students must reassign an appropriate digital use form developed by the superintendent. And that digital use form
It says code of conduct.
should reference whatever documentation we have with regards to expected or acceptable use.
Does it?
It doesn't, and that's why I'm bringing it up. So, the policy, what we were talking about was creating a document that would basically be, what Georgina was saying was practice, right? So you've got the policy, which is sort of the overarching themes, and then you have practice, which is, you know, breaking it down to the nuts and bolts. The practice part of this, we don't have as of yet, but if we're gonna do the policy, then there should be, I believe, somewhere in there a reference, if we're talking about student use of technology, we should probably have a reference somewhere in there to the document that will be,
Yeah, but we can't reference something that doesn't exist in a policy. Yeah.
but that's why I was asking if it was going to be in the student handbook. Because if it was in the student
We
handbook,
do
that's,
have some policies in the handbook, it's just not to the level that we want it to be. So is it okay to say met with consequences at the very last sentence, in the handbook or located in the handbook or is found in the handbook? Or is it better to come back to the policy and add that later on?
So you're talking specifically about the consequences?
Yeah, because the consequences are in the handbook, right?
Are they all in the handbook, or
Some.
are there
Or
potential
they- well, I guess
transgressions that could be
No,
committed?
no, no, we
where
don't have a list of.
John might have to levy.
yeah, it's
We
more
We
than.
don't have a
consequences.
list of transgressions,
But
right?
there's room for discretion. to
Yeah.
make sure you're-
So, I
Yeah.
mean, I do want it to be open to discretion, you know, I mean, regrettably, there could be transgressions of a nature that we don't foresee right now,
Absolutely.
that may involve the FBI and CIA and, you know, I mean, you know, it's,
I think I like the line here that's most important for students are that they're reminded that there's no expectation of privacy in the use of district digital resources. And I think that's an important thing to share with students.
it's also something that should be on the first slide. The beginning of the school year, in every classroom.
I agree, I mean, we say it, but I think it's a really good thing for them to know. When you take those
Yes.
Chromebook home, that it's still district property.
Is there, I guess the question is there anything in the student handbook now with regards to acceptable use?
That you have to sign the policy.
Just in terms of guidance, like, of digital, I believe the term is digital citizenship. So, I mean, again, the
We can look at
the
it.
thought behind this is I wouldn't wanna get to the point where where we create a policy, but the policy is disjointed, where too many times this happens, where the policy is disjointed from
Well,
the
that's
practice.
why the policy's gotta be open-ended.
Right, but if we know that we wanna have a document to guide, because we already know that IJND mandates that these two create a document that will govern what is acceptable use, right? So digital citizenship. So if we know that, then, and that's going to be.
Or not just these two, but John might feel that it's appropriate to reform a technology committee.
Well,
And the committee will start, and then with the draft that we've now provided them with some information from what's been deleted from the other policy, and write, every quarter, probably new stuff.
Just to answer the question that was posed, on page 29 of the student handbook begins a list of unacceptable technology uses. It starts with letter A, any unlawful or inappropriate information, and it ends with letter T, installing software data on a computer network without having information scanned by the technology coordinator. So there is a pretty comprehensive list of
Yeah.
things you can't do that are.
And above
Yeah.
that's digital citizenship.
so what if you just, can you cross-reference a student handbook?
Yep.
So do that.
Oh, yes, I like that. Then we don't have to word it in. Just
So
add it as a cross-reference.
So we're adding INJDB as a cross-reference and the student handbook,
Yeah.
correct?
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, I'd like to make a motion for us to approve JICJ with the proposed additions of the additional cross-references that John just mentioned.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, JICJ. All right, KDC, community use of digital resources. This is a lot shorter. I like that it's open-ended. I like that it says the superintendent can do basically whatever he wants. I mean, he can revoke it, members of the community using the school's digital resources, it's a privilege. I mean, it is part of the community, so it's good for it to be available, but, when abused, that's,
Or it could be for non-abuse, it could be, or we can't handle the traffic anymore, and we just need to close it down.
well, that's the thing, right? Because there's only so much bandwidth,
Right.
and the primary goal is education of the students, right? And so if the bandwidth is for some reason being used, and that's prohibiting that goal, then, yeah.
I'm fine with it. Make a motion to approve, policy KDC.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, so now, before I forget about it, I want to go back to the one that I had in the beginning. All right, so, physical examination of students. So, John, you were going to touch base with,
Yep. So this is the version that has been reviewed by the school physician and our nurse leader. So all the language about having the school physician examine all of the student athletes is out. Basically, the only thing that's being added to our current policy is a requirement that when a school nurse finds that a student has a disease or medical problem, that they'll notify the parents. And the schedule of mandatory screenings.
okay. I think it's great. It could work. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right. Make a motion to accept the revised JLCA, physical examination of students.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now we are on to, if I'm correct, are we on to, why do I have this one? IJND?
That's all part of that one packet, even though that was already taken care of.
All right, we did that one.
We did that one, yeah, we did
That's
that
why
one.
it was familiar.
That's why,
And
we did
that-
that.
Okay, oh, so they were in.
They were in order, but I think
They were-
somehow
well, they were
I
in the-
confused you with
The different, okay.
yeah, with the other one there.
All right, and you see, we just did that one. So you had it, but you didn't have it there, so we can't do it, okay?
Right, we can't vote on that. Correct,
Okay, we can't vote on that one. All right, so here we are with KA.
you got it.
Okay, formatting adjustments and a new source is added. No other changes. I think it looks great.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I would actually, make a copy of this and ask that it be added to the, school committee agenda for the next meeting, just as a point of discussion. As we look at this is one of our policies, it's one of our existing policies. So it would be good for us to, as a body, to look at what we're doing and seeing if what we're doing in practice actually reflects what our policy says. So I'm okay with it. I'd love to move it along, but I probably would just bring it up as a point of discussion at the next meeting.
How about this? So when I go to read this as a newly approved policy, this one I will read,
Okay.
okay? Can you put like in the agenda a star and then, you know, like kick me if I forget? Huh?
Just run it by Michelle.
So,
Just
and, yeah, and send an
I'll
email
send
to
an email to
Michelle to let her
Michelle.
know that I'm gonna read this one policy because the policy subcommittee just wanted it to be kind of heard at the full committee. And, you know, and everything that I say in that session is up for point in discussion with the full committee.
Motion to approve KA.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, KBA. Can't believe Guardians wasn't in it before. I guess we needed the movies Guardians of the Galaxy to come out for us to remember to put Guardians in. So I'm fine with these changes.
Motion to approve KBA.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, KBE. This has been shortened. There's been some changes and organization was changed to plural. I think it's fine with the deletion. I like that there's a stipulation that is in there that, you know, deals with the eventuality that there are competing, which I think is something that's not out of the realm of possibility, particularly for our community, because we have such a wonderfully generous community. So,
Hopefully that can be corralled.
well, that's the goal, right? To, you know, to get everything supported.
Yeah, well, you know, the funny thing is I mean, we already have several competing entities. It would be nice to see them housed under one more unified roof. Simply because, again, you know, the reason why the boosters is so effective is because of its ability to sort of help coordinate the fundraising efforts so that, you know, you're not doing a can drive 6 weeks after a group just did a can drive, right? Or you're not selling cookies a month and a half after somebody just did a cookie drive.
Yeah, but there are, I think where there are separations, I think it's appropriate, like the Minichog Music Association, I think it's appropriate to be separate. They don't want to be competing with fundraising, you know, they don't want to be competing in sports for music, and so, you know, I don't know, I think things are, almost everything else is under the boosters, right? There's hardly any fundraising activity.
PTOs.
You have
So we've
PTO
got PTOs, Minichog Music Association, and the booster.
and what?
Huh?
What?
And
Wolverhampton
what?
An Academic
What?
Trust.
Oh, well, it was, yes.
You also have the Wolverhampton Scholarship Fund. So like I said, there's a lot of competing entities. So, you know, again, something to take into consideration.
So this-
But this policy is fine for what we have now, this policy, I think it works.
Motion to approve, KBE,
So moved.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, KCD, public gifts to the schools. So, what did I make comments on here? I mean, there's minor revisions to this. So all gifts have to be approved by the school committee according to this policy, which is what I thought was already in place, but I guess, wasn't exactly it. And the gifts have to be kept separate from the general fund. Do we currently practice this?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a pretty substantial change though, in that it eliminates the dollar amount.
Yeah, it used to be,
Used to be
Yeah.
it's $500, so, any gift, you know, $25 McDonald's gift certificate, gift cards, things like that. I mean, it's a substantial change to the policy because basically anything that's gifted to the district,
Technology donations?
anything, any type of donation. So according to this policy, if somebody donates they donate a box of CD-ROMs. Couple of
Is this gonna cause problems, John?
Well, the way I look at it is if I was approving an extraordinary number of $499 gifts, then I would say, hey, we probably shouldn't change this, but I'm not. I mean, most of them are already over the $500 threshold, so they're going to the school committee anyways.
Okay,
I can't remember the last time I approved one, can you?
so, and I mean, if,
just the ones that were recently the athletic, you don't
I
approve
mean,
those.
Those go to the school
Those
committee.
all go to school, you're right, so
Well,
you really haven't, no.
This is one of the things where, it kind of gets into, I hate to say it, but it kind of gets into the nitty gritty. I'm not a big fan of this policy only because public gifts to the schools. We have parents that buy paper towels, they buy crayons, they buy pencils, they buy paper clips.
we're
So-
not counting these as gifts. Well, they're not
according
being
to-
considered as part of this. So are you advocating we
Well,
should
those
leave
would
the
be
first
gifts.
sentence in?
Gifts to the district. I would think that what you're talking about those is more the gifts to the classroom.
Are we able to distinguish between those?
I don't think so.
If we are, I think it's cool. If we're not, then, but
We could add some language to exclude classroom gifts, which don't go through any kind of approval
or we
process.
could just
right now.
leave the first sentence in.
We could. I mean, you could leave the whole thing the same, but I would say it won't solve that problem because I'm not in the process of the practice of approving the tissue boxes and the crayons. And
No,
everything.
but if you read this policy to the letter, you are not in compliance. So if a parent wants to bring in a case of Kleenex and they drop it off in the school, even though it's going to a classroom, it is still a gift to the district because either the parent buys it or the district's gonna have to pay for it. So I don't like the policy the way that they've written it now because I think it
Well, yeah,
really
if
sort
we-
of, it
if
puts a
we-
huge burden on the schools. And I mean, you wanna talk about not being in compliance, all of a sudden you get a group of parents that decides they wanna, make waves with the school district. And they're gonna say, well, you know what, I bought, $50 worth of expendables for my son's classroom and they never accepted it.
One, can I make a suggestion to
Yeah.
address that? And would also be for our current non-compliance, which I guess I agree with you, we're not compliant. How about if we say all financial grants and gifts? So if you're making right, if you're making what do they call it? Tangible gift,
Oh, monetary?
right, then it's excluded from this policy.
Yeah, but then, the football stadium wouldn't need to be accepted by the school committee because it's a
Nor would,
tangible
yeah,
gift.
nor would a real estate transaction.
So perhaps, so if we choose to keep in the first sentence, which I think might be the way to go, we'll also need to bring back the two sentences that were deleted below.
So.
Because
Okay.
they kind of tie together, right? Because if they're, the first sentence has it, establishes that there are some gifts that aren't approved by the school committee. So then those other two deleted sentences then would need to come back in to set additional ground rules for that.
I'm thinking if we keep all those sentences, we should probably just keep it the same. Because if you have all those sentences and you also have, in accordance with law, all grants and gifts to the district must be reviewed and accepted by the school committee before expenditure or use. And then the one about regardless of intent requires a vote of the school committee. It means all those things would technically have to go on school committee agendas.
Yeah, we have a lot. Okay, all right, so we can keep it on. You think you don't think these changes are mandated by Massachusetts state law for some reason?
Well, it does reference the law.
I'm actually looking at, I'm looking at the
That's the only catch, so I'm totally on board with not changing it at all, except if we're now gonna be,
So according to chapter 44, section 53, which is what they reference, it's all monies received by any city, town, or district officer or department, except as otherwise provided by special acts, and except fees provided for by statute, shall be paid by such officers upon their receipt. Go to 50, yeah, 1 second. 53. Okay. There we go. 53, an officer or department of any city or town or any regional school or other district may accept grants or gifts of funds from the federal government and from a charitable foundation, a private corporation, or an individual, or from the Commonwealth, a county or municipality, or an agency thereof. And in the case of any grant or gift given for educational purposes, may expend said funds for the purposes of such grant or gift with the approval of the school committee. And in the case of any other grant or gift, may expend such funds for the purposes of such grant or gift in cities having a Plan D or Plan E form of government with the, Jesus, makes the second sentence of Moby Dick seem short.
well,
So I guess the gist of this, it looks to be
job
that
security for the lawyers.
Financial.
it's money.
So it seems like it's only money, so if we put at
Grants or
the end
gifts
of the
of
first,
funds.
if we kept it unchanged, except at the end of the first sentence, valued under 50, with the exception of cash, or with the exception of money.
Well, that's actually in the fourth paragraph.
Yeah.
It says any gift of cash, regard,
Oh, here we go, it's covered, okay, all right, so then we're good, we don't have to change the policy at all.
okay.
It's in accordance with, all right, so this is no action, right, because we already have this policy,
Correct.
and so it was a proposal to change, we're not changing it, no action,
No action, so.
does not go on the agenda,
Doesn't go on the agenda for school committee,
yes. For the sake of Massachusetts public meeting law, I received a text message from my wife asking me what time she thinks I'll be home. I'm
Cook
going
dinner.
to respond around 6:40. And if anyone's watching, please let her know. All right, so I'm looking now at KDB, Public's Right to Know. The words legally and guardian are added, again, with the Guardians of the Galaxy mentality here. So, I'm fine with this. I have no issues. And I'd like to make a motion to accept the changes that have been made to KDB, Public's Right to Know.
Yeah, make a motion to approve.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. KDD. News Media Relations, news releases. Because, hey, we were on the news and we were on Saturday Night Live, right? So I did have, so I have one question about this, and it's after the item 1. The school committee chair will be the official spokesman, should be spokesperson, right?
Let's change that.
Let's change that to spokesperson, for the committee, except as duly delegated to the superintendent. Oh, that's fine, okay. I thought it was, except if somebody, I read it quickly, I thought it said, except if someone else is delegated by the superintendent. Usually when someone has a responsibility, they're the ones that delegate, that pass it or dump it to somebody else, right? So, all right, so other than, so that should be changed to spokesperson. Do we have any other gender inequality terms here in this policy? I don't think so. And district is instead of system, which is totally appropriate. All right, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, KE, public complaints. All right, a new paragraph is added to explain how complaints about school personnel will be investigated. A source is added. Okay,
The only thing added to that was what's in yellow, right?
Correct.
correct.
Complaints about school personnel will be investigated fully and fairly. However, before any such complaint is investigated, the complainant must submit the complaint in writing. Anonymous complaints will be disregarded. Thank you.
I think that's important. I mean, you're supposed, you should be able to face your accuser and, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm in favor of this change.
Make a motion to approve KE.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Oh, John, we're on the cusp.
We are.
We're on the cusp.
You didn't cast your vote on KE?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
If I made a motion.
We're really on the cusp. I'm like, Bill's teasing me here. All right. Policy LBC, relations with non-public schools. Or it's actually more in regards to public schools, right?
No. It's, if you have a private school in your town, the school committee has to approve its operations. And
So
that's
we
what
approved
this is.
WMA?
At some point in the past, I assume.
Okay, cool.
If they were to substantially change their program, the committee would have to do it again. Yep.
I did not know that. Are you kidding me? I've been on the
Me
school
neither.
committee 9 years and I was on, so any parochial school,
And
any school within a municipality or a regional district, whether or not they were affiliated with the district, still has to be approved by the school committee.
That's right.
Wow.
At whose expense?
Preschool, no, because preschool's not
What do
a,
you mean at whose expense?
not recognized.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, so it will cost manpower
Yeah.
to review stuff and, so, well, let's hope that they don't need to be approved again.
Mind blown, but I mean,
Yeah.
I had no idea. 9 years on the school committee, I had no idea that this policy.
I bet you WMA has never been approved because they have been there forever.
Hmm.
And I bet you they predate the legislation.
Could.
And our grandfather did. I bet.
Legal references.
Huh?
There's a lot of legal references.
Um, regardless, I have no problems with the policy as written, except if it means that we're going to be bound to embark on a very long and arduous and time-consuming audit of an already very well-functioning private school.
No, it's not an annual renewal, it's just,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
if you have a new school come into your community.
If we have a new one that come into the community.
That is,
So, and this counts just for K and above, right? So this doesn't, it's not preschool, if somebody opens a preschool.
preschool, I don't,
think preschool.
we don't,
is
yeah, 'cause
covered.
we're not,
We don't consider preschool school.
we consider school K through 12.
All right, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve, LDC.
Second,
Aye.
all those in favor? Aye. Aye, myself as well.
You did
Okay.
it?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Oh wait, do we wanna set up another meeting first?
no,
Okay.
we're going to wait until reorganization,
Okay,
so,
very good.
okay.
I gave you my best.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for all the hard work this year
Yes, absolutely.
and the last 9 years.
9 years.
Did we never get down to K and L? Is that why you didn't know that one policy, Bill? Like, did we never get that
Just
far?
tell you.
I was never part of I was
Oh,
never part
right.
of policy.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
And,
We have-
yeah, never, just, for some reason, just
We don't
We
get
have-
rid of
went
them all
right
sometimes?
through my radar.
What's that?
Mary's
You
right,
don't
we
get rid of
haven't,
them all sometimes?
I think,
we haven't done
Sometimes you don't.
the
We're
last,
usually
like,
trying to catch
you
up.
motioned it,
Mike,
Mike, you have to adjourn.
you have to,
aye.
he said
Oh.
aye.
Adjourn. Thank you. I thought we said all.
That was
of those.
Mary. Thank
This
you,
would be
Mary.
clean, clean
Thank
start.
you, Mary.
So,
Thank you.